jump drive hums, we're heading out, hear the battle drums. Carrier drops in these war-torn grounds, the sky is filled with a deafening sound. Loadouts checked, our nerves are tight, it's chaos out there, but we're ready to fight. Outnumbered, outgunned, our ships torn asunder, canopy smashed, but we won't go under. There are too many and we're too few, is this fight too much for us to break through? Outnumbered, outgunned, we're lost in the fray. Canopy's gone as the swarm comes to play. Heat overwhelmed, systems start to fail. They're closing in fast, their strength prevails. Too many to count, and far too strong. This might be the end, we may not have long. Outnumbered, outgunned, our ships torn asunder. Canopy smashed, but we won't go under. There are too many and we're too few. Is this fight too much for us to break through? With a fire, a light breaks through. We look to each other, we know what to do. Training kicks in, we form our ranks. Together we stand, there's no turning back. Outnumbered, outgunned, our ships torn asunder. Canopy smashed, but we won't go under. There are too many and we're too few. Is this fight too much for us to break through? We rise like the
On the recent stream, I said that if I were a betting man, I would not have bet for the Titan bombing to begin on this first day of this first week of a defense campaign against the invasions surrounding Sol. Good thing I am not a betting man, because I would have lost that bet, and soundly so, as the campaign to recapture occupied systems and defeat invasions has effectively succeeded, with just a small amount of progress needed to bring the number of systems under control or invasion below 3, which is when Titan Mk2 will become vulnerable for attack, for direct attack. What that entails is that we will now be beginning our bombing campaign of Titan Mk2 this Thursday, which might also be going very quickly if the numbers remain what they historically have been for the Titan, and the amount of interest in the Titan remains as high, and in the defense of Sol and Earth remains as high as it has been in the past 2 weeks, which I want to say is unprecedented with regards to the war as a whole. The defense of Sol, the defense of Earth, has brought countless commanders back into the game, back on the front lines, into AX with practically no experience whatsoever. So what this live stream, which is also being recorded and will also be published as a video, aims to do is to help newcomers and experienced pilots alike know what to expect when it comes to bombing a Titan, which is a thoroughly different activity than anything you might have experienced in the game if you have done nothing like that before. Even fighting in invasions like combat zones is profoundly different than attacking a Titan directly. So I'll go over a few basic concepts, and then we'll talk about the build, and then we'll get into the action proper, and in that case, an example is worth a million words. So we're actually going to demonstrate rather than just explain. So first and foremost, Titan space is the toughest environment in the game, bar none. There's an active anti-guardian field, or active guardian zone, as it's referenced in the game, which means that guardian weapons that are not engineered for anti-guardian zone resistance will melt in seconds, not even minutes, so they are effectively unusable. Modified guardian weapons, which are extremely powerful and dominate the battlefield in combat zones, also cannot be used at all, because they cannot be engineered for anti-guardian zone resistance, as they count as pre-engineered. So what you will be relying upon is good old human weapons like anti-xeno multi-cannons, anti-xeno missile racks, and if you have the chance, time, and opportunity to do so, guardian weapons that have been engineered for anti-guardian zone resistance, and primarily, for reasons I will get into, large guardian shards, the old shards, the ones that are originally unlocked at Guardian Tech Brokers. So, so that's generally what to expect. The other thing, which is a fundamental difference compared to anti-xenon combat zones, is the fact that anti-xenon combat zones have a set difficulty, and the more people you bring into them, the easier they generally become. Titan space, different beast altogether. Titan space is effectively an escalating encounter. The more commanders you cram into them, the stronger the response becomes. The harder the interceptor spawns become. The tougher everything gets. Which is why, even forgetting about bugs and desyncs and network issues, but let's set that aside for a moment. That's why the general mantra for combat zones has been get as many people in them as possible, and everything's going to go as fast as possible. When it comes to Titan bombing, almost the opposite is true. You want to be doing Titan bombing in a small group. You can, and I will show you that you can effectively do Titan bombing solo. You can solo the Titan, and we will demonstrate that in this video. And in fact, if you have some experience under your belt, that is the most effective way to go about Titan bombing as far as credits are concerned, progress is concerned, and the war effort is concerned. Now granted, bombing the Titan solo is also not particularly fun, so you will see that we will be flying in a group, we'll be doing somewhat crazy things throughout the course of the next 72 hours or so. We may be escorting in an actual air superiority wing our friends from the Aegis Coalition as they do the final few rescue operations from the Titan itself, and create a melee of crazy interceptor combat in Titan space with caustic everywhere. If you are a beginner, chances are you don't want to do that, and you don't want to get into that. You want to keep it as safe and as simple as possible. So fortunately, or hopefully, if you come to this point, you will have seen some of our build videos that talk about the Titan bombers that we've assembled, the primary one being the common core Krait Mk2, which is the ship I am in right now. The key design paradigm of those ships is that they run extremely cold. Your bombers for Titan bombing operations need to effectively be stealth bombers. And stealth bombers in this game are cold running bombers. The Krait is great for that. The Titan Mk2 is also great for that. There are other options that we're not going to get into because they're not mainstream and beyond the purpose of this video. But generally speaking, you want a ship that runs really cold, naturally. In the builds that we've assembled, the Titan Bomber builds that we've assembled, both at Krait Mk2 and the Titan Mk2, achieve that goal for all intents and purposes. Think of yourself not so much as a spaceship, as a submarine. You're going in as quiet as possible, aiming to remain undetected for as long as possible. You're going to launch your torpedoes quite literally, like a submarine, do the damage you're going to do to the thermal core, and then get the hell out of there. That is how you should think about your mission as far as Titan bombing goes. Again, small groups is best. I would highly recommend no more than 4 people as things start getting haywire if you increase that number even further. And by the way, another reason, which I haven't mentioned as to why smaller groups are better, is because unlike combat zones, where the more people, the more bonds get effectively multiplied, setting missions aside for a moment, the maximum damage you can do to the thermal core in a given cycle is fixed. It is 10,000 hit points. It is 28 million worth of credit bonds. That's it. You do more damage than that, it just gets divided among more people. So if it's 2 people and you both do equal damage up to the top, you both get 14 million. 4 people, you each get 7 million, and so on and so forth. So more people in an instance do not do more damage, do not make it easier. In fact, they make it harder, and they do fewer damage than they would be doing if they were in a solo or smaller instance. For all these reasons, keep those instances for Titan bombing small. You may be tempted to join the Anti-Xenon Initiative private group. You may be tempted to join the Xenostrike Force private group. And if you want to fancy that, by all means, go for it and try it. But take this advice. Find 3 or 4 people in the live chats, in your group of friends, in whatever random group of strangers, pull them into a private group, and do it in a separate private group and do it in a small group, you're going to have a better experience. With that all being said, let's move on and start actually talking about the build and what you're going to need. So this is the Krait Mk2 common core, which hopefully you're familiar with. Again, if you're seeing, this is in its mod shard configuration, as I have been doing anti-xenon combat zones. So what first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reconfigure it for Titan bombing purposes. So I'm going to store all the hard points, which I'm going to do as one click way, which I can't because I have too many modules, which is incredibly annoying. So I have to do it one at a time. So let's do it one at a time. So I'm going to configure it. Let's see if I actually have regular anti-xenon missile racks, because this is a weapon that you probably do the most, but chances are I might not have it. So I only have serious missile racks. So I'm going to use those, but serious missile racks and enhanced anti-xenon missile racks work more or less the same. So we're going to be doing this with essentially a Krait missile bolt first. And then we're going to do this again, but instead with a Titan Mk II with shards. And we'll be showing you the difference in some of the nuances that go with doing this with a more mainstream shieldless build like this one is, versus doing this with an advanced shielded build like the Titan Mk II, which is a lot more complex to use. Let's see if we have a torpedo lying around. Yes, we do. Here it is. So if you're going solo, you will obviously need both torpedoes and missiles, or multi-cannons, or shards, or something that can damage the thermal core, because torpedoes on their own can only hit the vents. They will not do any damage whatsoever to a thermal core, or anything else for that matter. So what am I looking here? Small enhanced missile rack, pre-engineered. Thought I had one lying around. There it is. All right. And let's get the other and final missile rack. So now we have our hard points configured. We'll fix our fire group configuration in a moment. Utilities we also need to change from the configuration we had in anti-xenon combat zones, because there we privileged a shutdown field neutralizer, which has the benefit of helping and protecting other commanders as well. Versus for Titan space combat, we have to swap this with a fire pulse neutralizer. Otherwise, we're not going to get through the barrier. This model is essential. We also want a caustic sink launcher, as without that, we're going to take massive damage in getting through the caustic cloud. And then 2 heat sinks. This is a bit more of a preference. I'd imagine you want at least 1, but I tend to use 2 and spam heat sink synthesis. Your mileage may vary. Core internals are the Krait common core. I'm not touching a thing here. And the same when it comes to the configuration of its internals. Let's stock up on limpets, set up our fire groups, and we are good to go on a bombing run of the day. We actually have limpets already, even better. So as we remember to restock your ammo, because for whatever reason missiles do not come with ammo, let me set my power priorities, which now look good. Power priorities are good. Let me now fix my fire group. So my first fire group is going to be my Nana torpedo pylon, which I like to map to my first heat sink, because I like to basically fire heat sinks as I'm firing torpedoes, so that I essentially have permanent heat sink coverage. My second fire group is instead going to be my thermal core damage fire group, and this one I like to map to the other heat sink, so that I have heat sinks also when I'm doing that. My third fire group is my repairs and scanners, and finally my fourth fire group is my utility fire group with the caustic sink launcher and the target post neutralizer. I don't really need this second one because I use my hotkey to fire my target post neutralizer, which is what I generally recommend. Also to build a habit and muscle memory to have your neutralizer on a hotkey, because fiddling with fire groups while you need a neutralizer is generally a bad idea. But there's nothing else that's necessary or useful to have on that second fire group. So this is how it's configured. And with that, I think we're ready to launch. Let's go. So presumably you are at a station or at a carrier or some destination not too far from Sol. The first thing we'll need to do is we'll need to jump into Sol. Like, the first challenge of this experience is getting to the Titan. That's because we will, more likely than not, get hyperdicted on the way there, and then you will be relentlessly interdicted once you emerge from a witch space on your way to the Titan proper. The good thing about the engineered version of the Krait and of the Krait Mk II is that we're very fast. So you are able to submit to those interdictions. There's no submitting hyperdictions. And boost and get away pretty quickly. This might be... Nope. See, I'm jumping to the system of origin. This tells me I'm getting hyperdicted, by the way. This is a relatively reliable way to know that you're getting hyperdicted. Checking your left panel to see that you're jumping to your origin system means you will get hyperdicted. Again, think of yourself as a submarine. We are not here to fight. We are here to stay undetected and get away. And Lurin has a good suggestions of actually bookmarking Earth to like make your trip faster overall. So that is a good suggestion. But nevertheless, we have to wait for our FSD cooldown to expire. And then we are back off to Sol. You will never be hyperdicted more than one time in a row. So the second time you try, you're guaranteed to go through. What you will be, however, is relentlessly interdicted time and time again. Which is why, by the way, Super Cruise Assist does help in reducing the amount of time that you spend in Super Cruise on your way to the Titan. And by this day and age, I think most ships should be rocking a Super Cruise Overcharge drive anyhow. The trip to Titan Kokio and to Earth is not particularly lengthy, by the way. Like, I should also filter things so that I get to Kokio more reliably. This is not the fastest way to select it, but it works. And this is when we kick in our Super Cruise Overcharge drive and get there faster. We may have overdone it a little bit, but not too bad. Do a little dip of shame. And there we are. Now, because of my very poor flying with Super Cruise Overcharge, I haven't been interdicted yet, as I'm kind of essentially spinning in space. But chances are, once I straight line, I will be. But we'll see. If you do get interdicted, submit. Cut your throttle to 0. Submit to interdiction. Boost away until you're able to charge your hybrid drive again. You're not fighting, you're evading. There we go. Nice, because I got a chance to show you. Throttle 0, submit to interdiction. Boost away. These are scouts. I'll do evasive maneuver so I can avoid getting hit by the scouts. Let's see. Or not. Or do poor evasive maneuvers and still get hit by the scouts. And then as soon as I have the opportunity, charge my frameshift drive, and off we go. The window to drop on Kokio is pretty narrow, so keep your disengage button handy, otherwise you will just slam face first into it and take damage unnecessarily. And we're good. We're going to be placed straight in the middle of the caustic zone, so be ready to be in caustic as the moment you drop. So here we are. Once we get here, we're kind of going to head straight. What we're looking for is a big red cloud, which might not be obvious until you find some kind of like lighting of here in space as well. Those spiky things around it are caustic generators, which essentially are mines that also move around and are triggered by heat. So if you happen to go close to one, hit sign running like I did just now, and the mine will not see you, and you will kind of be able to avoid the mine even if you get too close to it. Otherwise, just keep your heat under control, don't get too close to the mines. Now, by now you should see the big red cloud at the center, which is where the Titan is. So that's where we're heading. About the time the mines stop being around you is when you will hear the sound of a Titan charging its pulse, its repulsion field. Once you do hear that sound, which is now, keep your cool, because you will need to fire your neutralizer. Put your pips in sys. You still got plenty of time, like I did right now. This will make your neutralizer last longer. And once you hear the blast, which is now, click and hold your neutralizer. Once you see this wave go over you, hit silent running. This will prevent you from overheating. If you don't, you will overheat and take heat damage. Not the end of the world if you do, but it's just a little trick, a little nifty trick to avoid unnecessary damage on your way into, and to avoid wasting heat sinks on your way into the Titan. So we're in. So now we've effectively passed the barrier. Once you see the asteroids, you're generally clear from the effect of a repulsion field. You're still in caustic though, so still you want to skedaddle and get yourself relatively quickly to the asteroids. The outer side and outer portion of the asteroids is safe. Escorts will not chase you up there, and the Taurus, the special attack of the Titan, which you will see in a moment, will not hit you out there. This is a place, one of the two safe spots in this whole instance, which is otherwise mayhem. The outer side of the asteroids, roughly where I am right now, is one of the two safe spaces where you can possibly be. And this is where, especially if you're in a group, you generally will go to regroup and just reassess the situation. When you arrive, the Titan will be in green state. You can see it by the green veins that run on the underside of the Titan. That means that the Titan is in green state. The state of a Titan, which is green, yellow, orange, and red, is a bit complicated to explain, and probably beyond the point of this introductory video. But what is helpful to know is that you want to keep it in green state, because in green state is when the patrols around the Titans actually jump out. And it's something that you just want to ideally get to every cycle if possible. That's the reason, the state of the Titan is the reason why I am not kidding a thermal vent beam laser on this ship. A thermal vent beam laser, using the thermal vent beam laser on the Titan, does cool you down, but it keeps the Titan in orange alert. And that means that patrols will not leave. And if patrols don't leave after 1 or 2 cycles of bombing, your life gets really difficult, because then it gets really crowded, and going bombing with 3 or 4 escorts on your tail is kind of nasty. So that's why I personally don't recommend using beam lasers if you're solo or in a small instance. If you're in a large instance where the Titan is red alert all the time anyway, then it matters a lot less. Then you can use beam lasers, and it's not going to make a big difference. Now I'm going to switch myself into bombing configuration, which for most builds is 1-for-1. Doesn't really matter what it is, so long as you have 4 pips in engine. Note how I position myself on the inside of the Titan, up high, because what I want to do is I want to circle on the inside of the Titan and cover as little distance as possible. Going fast isn't going to make a difference in terms of how many vents I hit. Covering less ground will make a big difference. And so that's what we are going to do. We will also do something very, very important while Titan bombing, which is to put on a pretty cool soundtrack, which we created. And it's called Glare the Mankind. It's available on Spotify. So let's put it on and see if we can set it up. And here we go. So we got a soundtrack. We got torpedoes armed. We're ready to bomb. Let's do this. Once the vents open, you can lock them, and then you can start moving away, because the weapons essentially have quite a bit of a gimbal, so you're able to fire as you're kind of moving away from the turrets as well. There's 8 vents. The more vents you hit, the longer the thermal core will stay open, and consequently, the more time you have to do damage, and usually the more damage you do. Here we go. First torpedo away. Second away. Note I'm doing this in flight assist on. You can do it in flight assist off if you want. Doesn't make a big difference. Now I'm drifting a little bit on the outside of a Titan, which is kind of not where I want to be precisely, but it's gonna be fine, I think. Last one. Note I'm turning down because I'm going to be heading down below the Titan. I think I hit them all 8 of them. Yes, I did. And the core is going to pop out from the underside right there. I'm going to target it, and then I'm going to start firing my missiles into the core. Note I've stayed below 20% heat for this entire run. And I'm moving away from those scouts because those scouts will detect me if I get too close. And I don't want to be detected. Also, I don't know why I'm clicking. You can hold missiles. I'm just used to shards, which you cannot hold. With missiles, you can just hold the fire button, and you should. It kind of saves your tendons and your fingers. So 50%, 49%. About half of the thermal core damage. This is a good run with missiles only. So with missiles only, this is a good run. This is what you would normally expect. Right? Now, I've spent my heat sinks, so I'm going to synthesize my heat sinks before I do the next run. I'm also kind of getting straight above the Titan, straight above the rear of the Titan, because this is a Taurus special attack. This blue thing is a Taurus-shaped thing that hurts a lot if you're caught inside. But if you're right above the rear of a Titan or right above the maw of a Titan on the opposite side, then you're safe from it, which is why you generally want to move straight up after you finish your bombing cycle, because that will allow you to avoid the Taurus. Now, I wasn't paying attention because I was focused on synthesis of my heat sinks. I don't know how much damage I did. Like, just going off of memory, like, I think it's 1.8 million per core at this resistance level before the Titan is vulnerable. So I should have done about 1.5 million in credits in terms of damage for that 50%. The amount of damage you do and the credits you get is directly correlated. So the more damage you do, the more credits you earn. You will need to earn at least 2 million credits in the week before the Titan goes down for you to qualify for the rewards associated with the Titan, which gives you a special decal, a special ship kit, and a special livery for the next in sequence ship that you get. Note the Titan is an orange alert here. See the veins up there in the middle? The Titan is in orange alert. And we can pause our soundtrack for a moment since we're now chatting. Ideally, I'm waiting until, again, the Titan goes back to green alert, which, if you're not detected by patrols at any point in time, should happen after a relatively short while. And so, in fact, yeah, I'm going to wait down here until it does happen, so I'll show you like what that looks like. It's much easier if you look at the underside of the Titan, because the underside of the Titan has a much more of those veins that change color, so it's much easier to see. It also, the Titan makes also a distinctive sound once it changes state, so you'll hear that as well if you have your sound turned on. This sound is not the change in state, this sound of the vents coming open. And Flame Shimanoma is patrol jumping in. It is still an orange alert. If a scout detects you, and this is again another of a challenge of Titan space, if one thing detects you in the instance, everything detects you. These things have a hive mind in this place. So even a silly, simple scout detecting you means every single turret of a Titan is going to open fire on you. And that's going to hurt. So don't get detected. Again, keep that submarine mentality and mindset. This is taking a little longer than expected to go to yellow alert, but it'll go to yellow alert soon, so long as I'm not detected. If I am detected, if one of those scouts gets too close, it will instead go to red alert, and everything will start shooting at me. These are missile turrets, by the way. These fire caustic missiles from the Titan, which hurt. And then there's dual repeater turrets that instead fire red streams of, well, I don't know what it is, I guess. Fire good repeater guns and whatnot. The lock range for vents, by the way, is 3 kilometers, just for general information. Also note, don't set yourself a goal. That's a Titan dual fire turret, yeah. Don't set for yourself a goal of hitting all 8 vents once you go and try and do this for yourself. You're not going to be able to the first time you try. I wasn't able the first time I tried. a good goal to set for yourself the first time you try is to hit 2 or 3 vents, maybe 4 if you really want to go for it, but you should be very happy if you hit 4 vents, or even 3 just. And after you hit 3 vents, head down to the thermal core to hit the core. That's a good result for a first time run on the Titan. Hitting 8 on a ship like a Krait is very, very difficult. I kind of make it look easy, but believe me, it is not easy. Now I'm going to flight assist off, so I'm going to go back to flight assist on. Again, the general positioning of where you start does matter, but it's not the end of the world, whether you do it or not. Again, now we've been detected. Note that a patrol is on a tail. The state of a Titan has changed. The sound was emitted, but a patrol has caught our scent, hasn't quite formally locked us, which is why we're still able to kind of lose the patrol. Now it's actually a good time to show you the safe spot at the Titan. This thing here is the safe spot at the upside of the Titan, and this is where you should go hide if you ever are in distress and need to kind of break lock or lose aggro. I'll show you more precisely where we are, like once we actually park, but this spot here is our safe spot. Here things will lose lock of you, things will lose interest. You can kind of relatively chill. It's not as safe as the asteroid field entirely, but it is safe enough that you should be able to lock aggro, lose aggro, especially if you have like glaives or if you have other hunters or interceptors on your tail. This is where you go to hide and lose lock of hostiles on your tail. There's 8 of these, so it's not just one. There's 8 all around the Titan. You can see where it is in relation to the position of the vent. It's right here. And then when things are settled down and patrols have lost interest in you, and maybe not right where the vents are open, because like we're not going to go bombing right now, but we're going to wait until we're kind of ready for the next cycle, we'll get back into our ship and get back into position. Note like the vent is right there, by the way. Like, it's relatively convenient to access from the safe spot. You could actually fire it on it from the safe spot if you wanted. You wouldn't be able to hit many, but you can actually fire on it from there. Alright, so the vents have come close. Let's now exit the safe spot and see if I can do it without actually bonking my ship on the Titan itself, which would not be nice because it hurt. And I kind of managed, so up we are here. Let's get ourselves back into a bombing starting position, which is above the ridge, again on the inside of the Titan. Again, I will try and accelerate on 3 vectors when I'm turning around the Titan. Forward, up, and right, which is what we call trichord acceleration, which is the fastest that any ship in the game can accelerate. When you give essentially thrust on 3 vectors, you get the maximum possible acceleration in game. But this is a bit more advanced. If you're again not used to like advanced flying, just fly as you are. Okay, now we've been locked and we are being fired upon. Like, and we're gonna do a running start. I'm gonna pop a heat sink, see if I can lose their heat lock. And vents have come open, and there's like a vent behind me, so I'm gonna see if I can actually do a reverse shot, which I did. Reverse shot are not exactly easy, so again, do as I say, not as I do. But we got 2. Because we had not the greatest start, I don't know if we're gonna be able to hit all 8 vents on this cycle. Well, we'll try and see how many we can hit. We're also a little bit out of trajectory at this point in time, but not so that it's so bad that we're not gonna be able to hit enough. So, well, again, we'll do some good damage. Alright, now we're totally out of trajectory. So, how many we got there? Is that 1 or 2? That's the last one. Alright, so now I kind of know I'm not going to be able to hit that one and get on time on the core. So I'm just going to sacrifice the last vent, since I knew this was going to happen, and instead make my way to the core. We're not going to be able to do the same amount of damage, because the core is not going to stay open the same amount of time. Because they only hit 7 vents, the core is going to stay open less time. And that means we're going to do less damage than the 51% we did on the previous round. Again, 51% or whatever amount we're going to do on this particular cycle is a lot of damage for a ship with missiles like this one. You shouldn't set yourself that target because it's probably unrealistic for the first few times you try. If you do 15% or 20% damage to the core, that is already a really good number that you should be happy with and proud with. Let's see how much damage we do. We are at 59. We did 41%. As I mentioned, less than we were going to be doing now. And this is a Taurus, and we'll have a better look at the Taurus since we're kind of further up close this time around. And the bond pops up at this point in time to the top right of your screen. It'll tell you how much credits you get for this little run we did. And that number is 600,000 K, which is surprisingly low, by the way, for... It's actually really surprisingly low. I would have said more than that, but whatever. Interesting. 40%, 700K. Huh. I wonder if there's some broader implications to that. But that is a problem for some other thing, not necessarily in this training live stream and video. So now we've done 2 runs. We've shown a few things like the safe spot and the like. So now we're going to show you the way to fast travel back to your carrier, which is boost, point at an asteroid, and boost again. Keep boosting. And actually try to hit the asteroid. And actually, if you can't hit a mine as well, because like, why not? Everything that kind of speeds up your fast travel back to your carrier is welcome. Bonk. And the mine explodes. Boom. One of the things is this common core crate is really tanky. So getting it to die, even intentionally, is not exactly easy. So we have to kind of ram it a few times. It's probably easier to just kind of like self-destruct in the right panel, but I always find it kind of like sad to hit that self-destruct button. So, and normally you could actually just fly out of here and ride the wave to get out of here, but again, we're a little time pressed to not waste your time and show you things that are interesting, so let's just destroy ourselves in a more conventional way. And with that, we will respawn back at our carrier or at the station where you last docked. And we will quickly do this again, but this time with a shielded build with a Titan Mk2. Same concepts, or rather similar concepts, but slightly different nuances to some of the aspects. One of the things I forgot to do, by the way, which matters less on the Titan for a specific reason, is if you wanted to be even colder, you could turn off unnecessary services. So once you cross the target propulsion pulse barrier, you turn off your AFMU and your repair Olympic controller. And if you want, you can turn off your cargo hatch and your frameshift drive as well. You turn these things off, lowers your power grid usage, in turn lowers your heat generation, in turn lowers your heat profile, in turn makes everything easier. So turn these 4 things off after you cross the thermal pulse barrier, which I forgot to do. And for reasons that I will show you in a moment, I don't actually need to do on the Titan Mk2 because the Titan Mk2 has power priorities that does that automatically for me. So we've done this in the kind of like mainstream bomber that most people are expected to have, and I've showed you how it works. Now we're going to do this with a high-end variant, which is the Titan Mk2, which is the best bomber in the game. This thing can solo the Titan, and I'll show you how it works. It is probably one of the most sophisticated builds overall. It runs 4 large and 1 medium shard cannons engineered for anti-guardian resistance, and further these have premium ammunition loaded on top. So it does an absolutely brutal amount of damage. It is a shielded no repair build, so we have the hull that we have, we leave the hull, and we're not going to be able to repair the hull once we're out there. So gotta make that hull amount count. On the flip side, we have some pretty sturdy shields overall, considering that we have 2 shield boosters on our utilities, and pretty high refined, even though it's enhanced low power and low draw, D-class shield. It's D-class because of power grid necessities. This is a build that flies 1-4-1 in pips practically always. The only time you swap from the 1-4-1 pips configuration is when you charge your target pulse neutralizer. So when you're crossing the barrier, you put pips in sys, like I showed you earlier. And when you are firing your shards at the core, you switch to 2-2-2. You reset your pips to their default configuration. That's the only time you touch the pips. Otherwise, it's 1-4-1 always. This ship is designed to charge your shields with a single pip in your system capacitor without draining your system capacitor, which is really as worries less as it goes as far as like pips configuration are concerned. The fire groups are pretty much the same identical fire groups as the Krait I showed you earlier. You have a torpedo and a heatsink mapped to the first. You have all the shards and a heatsink mapped to the second. And you have a caustic sink launcher and a power group neutralizer as quote utilities on the third. In this case, we don't have a repair limpet, so we don't have that additional fire group. But same exact logic. There's a question, and yes, Titans do mass lock. In fact, the whole Maelstrom mass locks. You're not able to jump out of a Maelstrom until you're clear of the caustic field area, and then some. Now, one thing you don't want to do with a Titan Mk2, because it is a shielded build, is you don't want to hit silent running when you cross the pulse barrier. Silent running automatically turns your shields off. It's a very bad idea. Don't do it. Alright, and we are back in action. And slightly better. Oof. And we obviously get interdicted the moment we're on approach, but whatever. Fine. Again, we submit, we boost away. Because this is a submission to interdiction, our FSD cooldown will be very short. This ship is pretty fast. It's not fast enough with its clean drives, which, by the way, are, I know, are highly controversial. Some people say, why clean drives? There's a whole discussion on Reddit about clean drives, no clean drives, why clean drives are a good or bad idea. You absolutely can, if you want, make a shieldless version of this Titan Mk2 with drag drives. And that will work. With dirty drives. And that will work. What's not going to work is a shielded version with dirty drives, because with the shields charging, that thing is going to put you above the heat detection threshold, and then your submarine, as we were talking, is going to be detected, and you're going to get the equivalent of depth charges thrown all around you, and you're going to have a really bad day. So either take the shielded build and run it with clean drives, or take the shieldless version and run it with dirty drives. The shieldless version is obviously faster. That's nice. However, it is very, very squishy. So, something that you really need to know what you're doing if you decide to go down that route. If not, again, this build works well for me. I hope it'll work well for you as well. So we're back on approach. And again, the mechanics and the logic is very, very similar. It's there's no real difference between what we did with Krait and missiles right now and what we're going to do with Titan Mk2 and shards. It's just the Titan Mk2 is actually has high acceleration, so it'll be easier to bomb the 8 vents in this ship than it is on the Krait Mk2. And that's really the main difference, I want to say. And it does a lot more damage, as you will see. So same logic, like we'll deploy hard points, we'll switch to the fire group of our utility for caustic sinks and fire group pulse neutralizer. And we're heading back in. And again, let's put some music on. Welcome to AX, like a track that is very newcomer friendly. So let's put that on. Scanners packed up, ready for the chase. Know that I'm boosting away while on approach, like there's really no reason not to. But when the pulse comes over me, I will not pulse, because I don't want to overheat. And boosting while the pulse wave is over me will overheat my ship. So I will kind of just go on military power until the heat subsides. When the heat stops subsiding, I will boost again to get the hell out of it. Again, pips to sys, hold. Note I am not boosting. Looking at my heat, 49, 52, 55, 59, 61, and now going down, now I boost. And I go back to my standard PEEP configuration of 141. Now we passed the barrier. As a reminder, you put pips in sys because it makes your pulse neutralizer last a lot longer, which gives you a lot more margin to time the use of a neutralizer vis-a-vis the pulse. Plenty of rewards. As you can see, we've been busy fighting around Saul. Alright, we're almost there. Skill issues arise. We all feel the sting. And we're clear. I'm gonna drop my caustic sink. It leaves me a full sink, which is more convenient. Alright, now, see, this ship automatically turns off the unnecessary things for you. Huh? Talk about automation and advanced build configuration. That's what we got. What we will do is we will stop boosting, though, because boosting will push us above the detection heatsink, the detection threshold. You don't want to boost unless you're under our heatsink coverage. You can boost, but you got to pop a heatsink first. Otherwise, you will be detected, and again, you're going to have a bad day. Vents are open, but we are too far to have a proper bombing run, so we will not begin our bombing run right now. We will wait for the next cycle. So, as I mentioned, the Titan Mark II has higher acceleration than the Krait Mk II. It's generally more agile, so it is easier to hit 8 vents, or any number of vents for that matter, with the Titan Mark II. I would say, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but I will say it anyway, it's even easier in the Mamba, because the Mamba has even higher acceleration and top speed. However, the Mamba does a lot less damage to the thermal core, which is why, for all intents and purposes, the Mamba has effectively been rendered obsolete by the Titan Mark II as a bomber. You're not going to find us recommending the Mamba anymore as a bomber. Oh, it is a fun ship and it looks sleek, so there's that going for it. Alright. And after Welcome to AX, we'll put the signature title, Glory to Mankind. As bombing during, to a tune of Glory to Mankind has its own, like, special meaning, I will say. Alright, switch to our torps. Alright, we're ready to bomb. Let's put Glory to Mankind on. And ready we go. Here we go. Guns at the ready. We're ready as can be. We'll make the Fargoids flee. Vents are coming open. Alright, and we're here to defend. Come on, Vents. There you are. Off we go. Off to races. I'm used to flying the truck that the Krait is. I'm not used to how agile this ship is in contrast. I'll get the hang of it again in like 2 more vents, but like right now it's like, oof, this thing turns. Last one. Let's see if I can get myself a late shot there. All right, late shot, and down we go. 8 for 8. Now, shards have an effective range of 1.7 kilometers, so we gotta skedaddle and get close until we can actually fire. We might actually bonk into it, but it's fine if we bonk into it. We got shields, right? That's what we got shields for. There we go. Alright, now we go 2-2-2 in terms of pips, and now we keep blasting away from the safety of our 0% heat and heatsink coverage. Look at the amount of damage these things dish out. Right. 13, one more volley, and this is done. And 0! See? This is the soloing of a Titan, of a Krait Mk2 that I was mentioning, with a big blast explosion animation that goes with it, which is satisfying, especially on your own. And the Tauros. But now it should give a full credit bond of, I think, of about 1.8 million. Let's see if it's still 1.8 million. That's actually something I'm really curious to see, what the bond amount is. Bond, 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 please. Where's my bond? Did I not get a bond? Huh. Should I have gotten a bond? But I did not get a bond. Did I miss getting the bond? Did somebody see? Oh, there you go. 2 million. All right. 2 million. Was it 2 million always? I think it might have always been 2 million and I misremembered. Like, it's almost 2 million spot. Yeah. It's 2 million at maximum damage resistance, which is now, and it's 28 million 14 times when first day kicks in. So that's it for it all, folks. This is the basics of Titan bombing. Well, basic and then some. But at least there's some of the key things that you ought to know. Like, everything is harder once you have more people in the instance and you start getting detected and getting fired upon, especially if you try fighting. Like, look, there's things like, I think it's a glaive being launched from a, like, under pedal of a Titan. Maybe the last thing I will show you, since we're here, and since we're not always here, is how to pick up hardened surface fragments, which is one of the 2 materials necessary to engineer weapons for anti-guardian zone resistance. And then, as you can see from these shards, it can be worthwhile if you expect to be bombing for more than maybe just a few cycles. So let's go get some of those for that purpose. The other material that you will need for that engineering is caustic crystals, and those are found in in Fargoid. Gosh, can't speak now. In Titan graveyards. So if you go to the remnants of, say, for example, Titan Tyrannus, or any Titan that has exploded, by the way, and you just fly around, you're going to find caustic crystals filling in free space. They're somewhat rare, but they're not that rare. They're not as rare as Titan drive components, for instance. So fly around for long enough, keep an eye on the left panel, and you will eventually find Titan drive components. Alright, so we're looking for kind of tiny bright green dots on the surface of a Titan. There you go, I found one there. This is the kind of thing that you will need to shoot to get hardened surface fragments. You need to get really close to actually be able to target it, and it's a coarse hull surface. If you have abrasion blasters, you can shoot them with abrasion blasters, and the yield is going to be higher. We're going to generate more materials if you shoot them with an abrasion blaster. But you can shoot them with anything. You can shoot them with shards, and it will fire out hardened surface fragments. Now, I'm not going to pick them up because I'm completely full of hardened surface fragments, so I can't even pick them up, but that's how it works. And with that, Commanders, I'm going to turn my shield off, give you a glory to mankind, and I will see you on the front lines. And you will see us on the front lines as we begin the final bombing campaign of TitanKiller in the defense of Earth. Glory to mankind! Commander Mechan, over and out.